Well, hi there everyone, this is Denise Oyston from Superfast Recruitment, and today we have one of our recruitment expert interviews. I'm delighted to be interviewing Marc Woffenden from Lucy Walker Recruitment. And I wanted to pull Marc onto the podcast because Marc's been a client of ours for a number of years now, and literally a few weeks ago we had one of these conversations where we both said to one another, what the hell has just happened? Pretty unique. If you're watching this maybe in a year or two's time, you'll think, oh yeah, COVID, I remember that. That was interesting. Well, interesting it may well be, and it's proving challenging for many businesses, and particularly in the recruitment sector and small SME businesses across the whole of the UK and obviously globally. So I thought I'd ask Marc to jump on to one of our podcasts and give his perspective. I've asked him a number of questions around how he thinks Yorkshire businesses are coping, what Lucy Walker has done as a recruitment company to move forward, what people who are on furlough might want to be considering, and how this whole remote working is actually going to pan out for people. So you may be watching this on YouTube, or you may decide to listen to this later. It will be on the Recruitment Marketing and Sales podcast a little bit later on. So I look forward to your thoughts and let me know how it goes. Well, hi there everyone. This is Denise from the Recruitment Marketing and Sales podcast. And today we have one of our expert interviews. And today we're talking to Marc Woffenden. And Marc is a director at Lucy Walker Recruitment. They're based over in Leeds and they're a commercial recruiter. And I think, Marc, you've been around now for, 27 years as a company?
Yeah, it is 27 years, yeah.
The company was originally started by Marc's wife, Lucy, and they've gone from strength to strength over the years. And the reason why I wanted to ask Marc to come onto today's podcast, depending on when you listen to this, we are in the middle of, let's just say, a challenging yet interesting situation with COVID, particularly, I think, in the recruitment space. And Marc, his background is accountancy, and yet he is also a marketeer. And I think he can give a unique perspective on what's happening. So the amazing Marc Woffenden, I'm going to hand over to you now as well. So if you could maybe start with just telling us a little bit about you, Lucy Walker, and, the last few years of what's been happening for you guys.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Denise. First of all, the amazing Marc Woffenden. I don't think I've ever heard those words in a sentence before, or at least not put together. Yeah, it's normally different words, but thanks, I'll take that. Okay, yeah, I'll start this by telling you, I think, about the company and then about myself. We're working that way around. So yeah, Lucy started the business in 1992 after she'd been in recruitment, I think, about 3 years at that point, and had been made redundant, and her dad said to her, why don't you set up on your own? And the good thing about recruitment, I think, has always been that there's quite sort of low barriers to entry. So, Lucy took that decision to set up on her own. I think there were five main important things for starting off. One was her ability, which was and is without question. I think a lot of people will tell you that. Secondly was her CRM, which was a Rolodeck. You remember those?
I do.
Yeah. A lot cheaper than current CRMs, and a lot easier to use, I think.
Yeah.
Thirdly was a phone, but not a mobile phone. It was one of those fixed phones that you couldn't go anywhere with and have private conversations. So it was all sort of in the office stuff. Then we had the yellow pages, which of course, we'll both remember. And as it was before the internet, the yellow pages was the internet. Because if you wanted to find out anything about a business as such,
what was it? Let your fingers do the walking.
Let the fingers do the walking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If you wanted to find out anything about a business, or you just looked in the yellow pages, and if you wanted to research legal companies, you just go through the yellow pages. Some of them might have a bit of a snazzy ad, some might just be the line and a telephone number, but that was, that was the main database essentially on the client side, and of course the main form of marketing if you wanted to do a big ad to shout out about who you were. Fourthly, I think, or the next thing, I can't remember what point it was on, but next thing would have been a fax machine, which someone pointed out recently on a LinkedIn video I did that I've still got one of those.
No.
You
still use it?
Yeah, I do still use it. I think they're quite useful. I'll keep that relatively quiet. And then I think it would have been probably a word processor. I think we'd slightly moved on from typewriters, but it was definitely before computers. Definitely before computers. And of course, definitely before the internet. So, it was a very different age, which I think recruiters who grew up in that age, are obviously still very much driven by the telephone and personal contact rather than hiding behind email. And, if a client wanted something urgently, you'd go and take it to them, or you'd send it on the fax. And sometimes you might have to wait for the post to move on things, which seems bizarre these days, and that could slow things down by a couple of days. I mean, I think the only things we get in the post today are like vouchers for new bars opening in town. So, although not at the moment. But,
not at the moment.
Yeah. So, I mean, when Lucy started, it was just her, and she was specialising in more the PA, secretarial, so admin, receptionist, through clients she'd had before, and then with the service she provided, the word spread of a reputation, and now we do. Well, I think I've written down some of the categories here. We do sales, marketing, legal support, graduates, logistics, supply chain, FMCG, management, junior exec, and HR. So, and that will be across all industries within sort of Leeds and sort of down as far as Wakefield and up as far as Harrogate and Skipton. And we've got, there's about there's 17 of us now. And we have a marketing function, obviously admin, and all the consultants, and Lucy's still heavily involved in it. And I think the stats are something, I think we've placed like about over 120,000 people in temp roles and about 20,000 people in perm roles over that time. So
I love that stat on your website where you can just, the ticker tape one where you can just see all the different things that you've done. I guess when you think about those roles, Mark, they're the lifeblood of any business. You need your HR department, you need your commercial people, you need your receptionist, PA, the whole lot. So thinking about that, how are businesses faring in Yorkshire at the moment from your perspective? Because obviously you've got a vast range of clients and candidates that you deal with. What's going on for them at the moment?
Yeah, well, I've written down some stats here just so I didn't want to miss anything out. I mean, Yorkshire is a massive region. I think I did a paper on it a while ago, which is on our website. I think the economy is worth about £88 billion normally.
Wow.
Double the size of Wales and bigger than about 9 EU countries. So it's it's a massive area. And there was a frightening stat I saw the other day that the Yorkshire economy at the moment is losing £170 million a day.
Oh my word.
Yeah. I mean, we're against this backdrop of 30 million Americans unemployed, negative price of oil. And did you see that stat about the government are currently supporting more than half of the adult population through either the pensioners, public sector workers, people out of work, or people on furlough. And then today, of course, we get it's going to be the deepest recession since 1706. So yeah, against that, I am the bringer of doom and gloom. So yeah, I mean, against that backdrop, it's obviously difficult in Yorkshire as it is everywhere. I mean, we've tended to niche away, if that's the right word, from your bigger companies, because we found out the margins can get squeezed on those, and the relationships are more supplier based too. We try to work more with SMEs where we have more of a partnership arrangement, but I think those are the unfortunate businesses that are going to find it even harder as we go forward.
You probably answered one of my questions there about, what funding are Yorkshire businesses tapping into, because you say, like almost half the population is being supported at the moment. Are there any additional ones that I might have missed?
I mean, furlough's the main one, isn't it? I think that, a lot of businesses, I think, was it 70% of businesses are using the furlough scheme to some extent. And there's obviously these, there's a variety of loans, isn't there? The latest one being the bounce back and stuff. So, the government are putting in place, a lot of measures for businesses. But I think my concern would be with the finance head on is that, we've all lost a considerable amount of income and will lose a considerable amount of income, and we're replacing that with certainly in terms of these loans with debt that needs to be repaid. When we've lost income. So even from the short term to the medium term, that has ramifications for us all.
I suppose it does. I was thinking the other night that we've had our targets for this year for us as a company, and thinking, so we've got like 4 or 5 months of that are going to be maybe different. We don't know how they're going to be different, who knows. But thinking about that, how you're a company with a real heritage, great standing in the north. How's Lucy Walker Recruitment handled the COVID situation with their clients and candidates? What are some of the things that maybe you've been doing?
I think we've probably gone through the same the same sort of experiences as most. Well, I'm sure we will have done. I mean, the start, I remember, it must have been, although it's not that long ago, it seems like an eternity ago. I remember sort of like early March and being on a recruitment webinar. Just at the time, I think it sort of came to light, didn't it, early March, and then people were thinking, we're going to have to work from home, and it might be a slight impact. And on this rec webinar, and they're saying, and there was a poll on there, and asked you to fill it in, how much you thought we'd be impacted by COVID as a recruitment industry. And I came off that quite reassured. It was like, I think only 20% of people on that poll thought there'd be any impact or there'd be a significant impact in the economy. And then I heard Boris Johnson talk that evening. I thought, actually, what he's saying makes sense, which I haven't always thought that since, in fairness. But and then we got into the start of the next week, and then we were having to contact our IT and think, right, well, we'll need to get people working from home. And so we went through all the process of doing that. And then the next week, I think, was almost sheer panic, because we had it was a good that is a good time of year for us, sort of March, April, May, a very healthy job book, and during the course of that week it almost completely disappeared. Day after day, we were just, the start of the week there was a few people saying, we're going to put this on hold for a week or two, and then as we progressed through the week and the message got stronger, it was like, where's our book of business gone? And then you had the FTSE crashing with pensions, etc. We got into the following week of everyone working from home for a week, contacting candidates and clients, and then obviously the furlough scheme was announced, and when we saw the detail of that, we thought, makes sense. So we put some of our more junior staff on furlough and kept a senior team and marketing support. And then since then we've obviously kept in regular contact with candidates and clients to find out how they are, where they're at, what we can do to help, and just keep a real presence. And I think I think that's will hopefully stand us in good stead. Because I think a lot of people have gone very quiet, and I don't think it's not a time to go quiet, but it's an individual take, isn't it, really, on how best to deal with these things.
I mean, you mentioned there that obviously you've kept on board your marketing support with Christina, and so how have you approached marketing and sales? I know historically, you've been on BBC Radio, you've been very much at the forefront of marketing, in the recruitment space. Thank you. So, how are you approaching it now? I know you've done some webinars, but I didn't know what else you might do behind the scenes.
As I say, I think we made the decision at the outset that the best way to deal with it was not to go quiet, but to, maintain a healthy presence. And so, myself and Christina sort of sat down and planned it out. We decided our existing marketing, with all the emails, the email automation, we just completely stopped, and that wasn't appropriate. And we looked at obviously what we thought the needs would be of candidates and clients, and varied our approach. On the client side, we've done surveys to try and give them useful, relevant information, which we've shared and which they've found beneficial. We've obviously done blogs and articles. We have, and on the candidate side, as you mentioned, we've done webinars, sort of addressing how people can make their CV better for when we come out of this, and they need to get their CV in a position whereby they want to try and get a job. So so we've, and on the sales side, obviously it's you can't ring up people talking about jobs. So Lucy's led that, but it's been very much we're here, how can we help, what support you need, just let us know if there's anything we can do, and again, that's been very well received.
I noticed because Lucy did a video, didn't she, that you posted on LinkedIn about that. I thought got a lot of traction and went down.
Yes, it did.
And went down really well.
Yeah.
You mentioned furlough and you talked about candidate, and obviously in the last few years everything has been so candidate driven, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
What do you see happening now? I know you and I have had a lot of discussion about this, but what do you see happening over the next few months from a candidate perspective? It's always been classed as we are in a skill short market. I know that's recruiter speak, skill short market, but there might be other people listening to this. What do you think is going to happen with furlough, redundancies, and the market as a whole in that context?
Well, I think in many ways, I think the period we're in now is almost, because we don't know what the next phase is. We're almost with it. It's almost like the calm before the storm, as I see it. Really, it's we're all planning for the unknown still, because we don't know when things are going to be released, and we don't know. There's talk about the shape of the recovery. Will it be V-shaped? Will it be U-shaped? I heard Anne Swain, who you know from the APSCO today, and she said her analogy with it was, obviously myself being a football fan, she said, I think it'll be like one of those old leather footballs from like the 30s, when it's full of water, whereby when you drop it and you're expecting a bounce, it doesn't bounce. So it is going to be a long period of time, isn't it? I think it's going to be 6 months before see any shoots of recovery. So you're probably, the best part of this year will be written off. I mean, I know in unemployment they're talking, I know it's 3.8% before we went into it, they're talking it going up to around 10%, which the last time I remember that was when UB40 were in the charts with the one in 10.
You are the one in red wine, one of my favourites.
Red wine, indeed.
The drink as well, yes.
And the furlough situation, I know the Chancellor said about, he won't leave it like a cliff edge, so that when we get to the 30th of June, it's like, right, we're cancelling that. So then everyone has to take back on that expense and things. I can't deal with it. So there's mass redundancy. So, that needs a structured approach to prevent that situation and, a massive redundancies. But it is going to be a fiercely competitive job market, and I do think, and I also heard Greg Savage say this after I thought it myself, so I was thinking, if Greg Savage says it, it probably is right, and if I thought it as well first, then Denise thought it, well, I must be doing something right. But I do think we're going to end up with pay deflation, because if you're an employer and you want to save costs, and you've got, there's a wealth of candidates you could employ for the role, you can afford to set your salary lower than you might have done before, because people think, well, I'm going to take it because I want a job. It might not have been the salary I wanted. So, I mean, that's one of the exercises that the team have been going when they've been speaking to candidates at the moment, is saying, you know, some of them think, yeah, well, I'm looking for a pay increase. Say, whoa, hang on a minute. You might not get a pay increase when you look for your next job. And also saying to them, look, you know, it might be a time, the temp market will pick up quicker. Why don't you consider taking a temp role? You know, it might be lead an inroad to that client, but it'll certainly start getting you some income. So, you know, so those are the sort of conversations we're shaping with them. I also think that, you know, we're going to see more, and technology allows for that now, doesn't it? And I think people's experience of working from home on furlough is thinking, I can actually work from home. I've got my computer, you know, I can run my own business from home. You know, so that gig economy could you know, spike, really, I think.
I think so, because it's like people are getting a unique experience. I know
they are.
You know, it's different. Neither you or I have young children, so you know, I can imagine it can be quite a challenge when you've got young children running around, and how you focus and you concentrate. But I remember at the beginning of the year, you and Lucy were trialing that sort of 4-day week as well. Can you see that coming maybe in a different way? As you say, you know, that cost containment, that maybe some people end up working on a 4-day week. Would that be something?
Well, maybe so. And I think that's what they're thinking with the furlough thing, isn't it? That they reduce the percentages, that it might be like, well, take this employee back. You pay for them for so many days, we'll pay for them for so many days. But, I mean, I do think that, you know, businesses, I mean, obviously big businesses, and especially bigger businesses, are going to look at some of their cost base and some of their support functions and think, do we need this support function, or can we outsource this to it's carrying the house? And I think, you know, that's where you might see, you know, where you see some thinking in our sector in particular, where some of these big resourcing functions within bigger businesses, whether they think, actually, we can use a recruiter for that. So, and obviously there'll be other industries where similar things happen, but I do think everyone is going to take that opportunity to consider all that.
I was listening to something the other day, and it was I can't remember where it was now that I was listening to it, but basically it was a digital agency. Obviously I'm interested because that's part of some things that we do. And this particular guy got a team of 20, and he decided that he was getting rid of his office. So it was just, everyone was going to work from home. They'd, you know, with the money that they'd saved, they'd still be in profit, and they would meet up once a month. They, you know, they could use like a facility. So you and I are recording this on Zoom today, that they could do all those sorts of things as well. Something I was just thinking about as well, I know you and I have had this conversation offline about furlough, and you know, how can people actually put their best foot forward? So they've been on furlough, and then they're going to you know, go out into the market looking for jobs. I know you shared something about that on LinkedIn today. What would be your recommendations to people if they've been on furlough and they're thinking, what next?
Well, I think initially, probably for anyone that went on furlough, I think those first couple of weeks were like, actually, this is okay, nice weather, you know, out in the garden and stuff. But I'm sure very quickly that, you know, most people will have thought, I'm bored of this now. But I think you'll need to use your time, you know, you must use your time effectively to, there's lots of webinars out there, you know, whatever profession you're in. There's lots of training facilities, reading books, analysing your career where you're at. I mean, on that note, we've got on our website, we've got career development plans and career checklists where people can sort of take stock of where they are. You've got to use that time wisely. I mean, I do think it will be a big question when we for interviews when we come out of it, of, you know, employers saying, so you were furloughed, what did you do during that period of furlough? And I mean, bear in mind that might be for some people for 3 months. If you turn around and say, well, I watched Money Heist on Netflix, they're not really as impressed. So, I think it's all about, it's all about the well-being, isn't it? And mental health, and just doing as much as you can to, move yourself forward.
And I think it's a great job that recruiters do, because they speak to candidates, because sometimes candidates don't always think it through, to think, well, it's like anything, if you're not doing it. So like, obviously I'm the leader of our company, but I still write every day, because if I don't write every day, I could potentially lose that skill. Probably wouldn't, but I always practice. It's like practice makes perfect.
Yes.
And I think for many people, if they're just at home and they're watching the TV, we all know when we come back after 2 weeks holiday, we're a bit rusty. And I think for anyone maybe listening to this that wants career advice as well, go and speak to people at Lucy Walker, because they'll give some help and support around that. So
I mean, you're like me. I mean, we've both got like a thirst for knowledge and information, and I just couldn't personally contemplate not having any structure to my day that I was actually achieving or trying to achieve something. So
So I've asked you lots of questions. I've got a fun question to ask you at the end. Is there anything else that you want to share with us, Mark? Any parting shots or parting thoughts around things?
We've covered most of it, really.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question is, obviously, as we're recording this, we're not quite sure what the government will allow us to do. Probably by the time this goes live, we'll know. But what would be your first 3 things that you're going to do after lockdown?
First 3 things after lockdown. My first one, in my sadness, and you know me like you do, you won't be surprised, it would be to go and watch West Ham. As you know, I'm a sort of home and away season ticket holder with 2 of my kids, and that takes up a lot of our time and causes us a lot of distress. But it's character building, that's what I tell them. But that would be one of them. But they are saying with football, it might be 2 years before.
Really? I haven't seen.
They allow people back into grounds. So the second one would probably be, as you know, we spend a few weeks a year in the Lake District. We love that. So it would be being able to go back to the Lake District and go to my favourite pub there, which is Tweedy's in Grasmere.
Oh yes, yeah.
And the third one would be I've not seen my son for 8 weeks now, because he's up in the Lake District with his girlfriend and her parents, eating them out of house and home, no doubt. So it would be to see my son.
Yeah.
It's a long time. We have a weekly quiz on a Saturday.
Is it football related?
No, it's not actually. It's probably the highlight of the week for us at the moment. It's those family quiz type things. But they were 2-0 up, but we're beating them 3-2 now. But
right.
He's a better loser as I am, so it's a bit of a bone of contention. But it'd be definitely to see my son again.
Oh, that's a nice one, isn't it? So
it is, yeah.
To think about. I thought you were going to say something about when is the tip going to open. We were having a conversation with our team sort of people talking about doing all this house clearing, but where are you going to put it? And then someone said, but aren't the tips opening? And everyone they went, really? Are the tips opening? When are the tips opening?
You know what, Denise, on that note, we've hired a skip for this bank holiday weekend.
Oh, have you?
And I'm ecstatic, because we've got so much stuff to put in it and clear. So.
I was going to say you need to get out more, but that's going to fall on deaf. I never thought about that actually. Somebody else, in fact, Heather Clark, who we both know, right, she's ordered a skip as well. Maybe that's something that we.
It is.
They must be doing a roaring trade, mustn't they?
Yeah, they must be. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
To do that. So Mark, thank you so much for coming on today. And I think there's some great words of wisdom there for people as well about what's happening, and also sort of to be pragmatic, and this isn't going to go away overnight, and you need to plan. You need to think about the next few months. I think as a business owner, from a recruitment perspective, from your own growth, your own talent acquisition, how this is going to work for you. So Mark, thank you so much for today, and we'll speak again soon. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.